guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Pearl and I'm a Cameroonian YouTuber based in Edmonton, Canada, and I do film videos on faith, motherhood and lifestyle. If this is your first time on my channel, you're welcome. Do grab a glass of wine, a glass of juice or a cup of coffee and cheers to life. So today I'm going to be talking about the difference between living in Toronto as opposed to living in Edmonton. These are two cities in Canada and I have lived in both cities. So if this is something that interests you, sit right back and let's talk about this or get my point of view. So like I said, I'm going to be giving my point of view about living in Toronto, Ontario, as opposed to living in Edmonton, Alberta. I actually have lived in both cities. When I moved to Canada, I lived in Toronto for 2 years before moving up to Edmonton. And I've been in Edmonton for a year. I moved here in February of 2020. And so this February actually made me a whole year in Edmonton. And I kind of picked out a couple of things that makes me see much more of the difference between these two cities. Toronto, Ontario is found in the eastern part of Canada as opposed to Edmonton, Alberta, which is found in the west. Toronto is known on the international front for its proximity to the Niagara Falls and the United States, and also its beautiful forests, parks, and it borders 4 of the 5 Great Lakes, whereas Edmonton, which is located in Alberta, or Alberta in general, is known for oil production and abundant cattle farming, and its vast landscapes and mountains, and also very beautiful place. Alberta is a very beautiful place. So many great touristic sites to visit in Alberta, same as Toronto. So the first thing is population. I will prefer Edmonton to Toronto because Toronto is super populated. Like I said, Toronto is the New York of Canada. Toronto has over 2 million people, 2.93 million, 2.93 million people living in that city as opposed to 981,000 living in Edmonton. Yes. Yeah, that's the difference. That's the first major difference, the population. The second thing is, God, there are so many things. Population. Let's go to cost of living. Cost of living is higher in Toronto, which obviously is understandable. It's higher in Toronto than in Edmonton. An average apartment is going to cost you between $1,600 to $2,000 in Toronto. And that same apartment, even more beautiful, in Edmonton is going to cost you $1,100. Yeah, you heard me, $1,100. Take for example these two houses. This is in Toronto and it costs about $2,750 to $3,000, 4-bedroom house. And this other one is in Edmonton and it does cost roughly $1,900 or $1,800, between $1,000, less than $2,000 or even $2,000, and both have the same number of rooms, almost the same space. Yes, it's going to serve you the same purpose. So yeah, Toronto is more expensive than Edmonton. The next thing that I think is another major difference between Toronto, and Edmonton is the fact that restaurants, this one I give it a higher kudos to Toronto. Restaurants like African restaurants, I'm talking from the immigrant point of view. Yes, African restaurants like that are not popular in Edmonton. I doubt if they even really do exist. They aren't popular. Here we just have the, what do we call them? We just have these people like Cameroonians. Well, I know about Cameroonians and Nigerians who do cook in their homes and sell but you have to place your order 24 hours before. As opposed to Toronto, that you just have restaurants littered, African restaurants littered everywhere that you can just walk into and just get a plate of, let's go with easy ones, a plate of jollof, Niger jollof, or a plate of, God, it's making me to miss Toronto right now. Yes, get a good plate of food. Yeah, and you just eat it. Like, you always get to find food, unless on Mondays when most of them are not open in Toronto. But here in Edmonton, you obviously have to order from these ladies who do cook at home 24 hours before. Yes, so you cannot just walk into anybody's comfort zone and just say, oh, I want this on the same day. That's the difference between Toronto and Edmonton. I really do miss Toronto for that. Another thing is the transit system. See, I miss the TTC a little. In fact, I upload the TTC. You know, in Toronto, you do have bus stops almost close to each other, like just maybe a few meters, away, or yeah. But yeah, bus stops are far from each other, and they are not even in the settlements. Like in Toronto, you can have a settlement, and then you have bus stops inside that settlement. You necessarily don't have to go right to the road. There are buses that may pass through the settlement and actually take you like outside. But then that's not the case here. Everything is road level. So you have to walk to the road and actually get the ETR. And these buses are not like the TTC that are always early. If you live in Markham, Ontario, you understand that the YRT is always late, or the YRT does not show up. That's how the ETR is. The ETR shows up, but the system is very slow, and it's so annoying if you are using public transit. So yeah, actually, I just feel like that's where Toronto gets it more. The TTC as opposed to the ETR. The ETR just functions like the YRT, the York Regional Transit. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. Another thing that makes transportation, I think, a little bit, it eases transportation here, is the fact that taxis, like the taxi companies, are actually more cheaper than the ones in Toronto, and they are more effective. Like, you get to see them more on the road, like everywhere, and people are actually using them, and they are quite cheap. They're quite affordable. Let me not put cheap. They're quite affordable, and you can actually order from an app, and then they get to you, and you have a standard price like the Uber and stuff. So that's good. And or if you like, you can run on the Meta, but taxis are always on time. You don't have to wait for a long time before a taxi comes. They're always on time. That's one thing that maybe Edmonton is better in transportation than Toronto. Yeah, let's go to another major difference, the weather. This one, I could not put it away. Obviously, we have to talk about the weather. I know a lot of people don't want to move to places like Edmonton, Calgary, because of the cold and whatever, or what they tell us that the cold is, how cold it is. But talking from my point of view, I just feel like Edmonton is not cold, Well, Toronto actually has a very good weather, but the summers are humid than expected. And the only problem I think that Toronto has is the way in which they handle the winter season. They will clear the snow from the road and clear it from the pavement, the sidewalks, but then pile it up somewhere. So all of that gets you really cold. But the difference here in Edmonton is they clear it all out and they take it away. So I don't know where they take it to, but each time I wake up, I don't get to see snow. Even like, probably you can see it on the fields and everything, but piled up, like snow that has been cleared from the road or the pavements and what, you don't see them piled up at the side of the road. Everything has been taken out of that place. Even, well, yeah. So you don't really feel that, because when the snow gets piled up, it becomes very cold and you don't get to feel it like that. And I feel like this winter in Edmonton has actually been warm. Yes, Edmonton actually has a very warm weather. Like, yeah, it actually has a beautiful and diverse weather with abundant sunshine throughout the year. It can actually be cold outside, but just the sunshine on you just adjust everything. And I think it's not that cold too, because when I got in here last year, I was putting on a jacket when I arrived at the airport with gloves, and I felt so hot. And I'm like, am I in Edmonton? Is this the cold? I had to take off the jacket and the gloves because I was really hot. But, well, nonetheless, Edmonton, if you're really, I feel, well, Edmonton is colder in winters, yes, than Toronto, but I think they handle it more. They already know that they have this kind of weather, so they handle it more. Another thing is the nightlife. Those who love to party. Toronto has a more app, makes it easy to enjoy a night out in town with its entertainment district, as opposed to Edmonton. No, I still cannot figure that out. Whether there's a nightlife in this city, or if at all is in fact the nightlife is not as popular as Toronto's nightlife. Is really a little bit more dominant. And the next thing and almost final thing that we're going to talk about here is the job market. Toronto is like the economic city or whatever, economic hub of Canada, and there are always jobs out there. You always have people, all this customer service and all other forms of jobs, HR, bank jobs, always announcing. But then you can go for 10 interviews in Toronto, and they moved with other candidates, all 10 jobs. Yes. And another thing with Toronto is you get to use a lot of, at times people get to use a lot of these recruiting agencies. It's never really, it's very few that go direct employment, like directly with the employers or the company employing. Most of them go through recruiters. As opposed to Edmonton. Edmonton actually has, since it's the oil region, it's located in the oil region, it actually has more of this engineering jobs, architecture jobs, land surveyor jobs, and all whatnot. And these people mostly work out of city, and yeah, they don't really work in Edmonton itself. Like they can work in Fort Mac and all those, the oil fields. Yeah, but those who remain in town actually do get jobs. If you have 2 or 3 interviews in Edmonton, be rest assured that if all of those 3 companies don't call you back to give you the job, at least 2 of them would definitely call you. And most of them is direct employment, not going through the hassle of going through recruiters like Toronto. Lastly, I would say one thing that stands out a little bit for me when it comes to Toronto and Edmonton, and yeah, let's pimp up Toronto a little bit, is the community lifestyle. This is for Africans, like immigrants. I'm talking to us. The community lifestyle. We really do have a lot in Toronto. Really do have a lot of community coming together and all whatnot. But in Edmonton, it's a little bit different. If you're a quiet person, you get to enjoy Edmonton. If you're the kind of person that would just like to have your cool head and oh, yes, there's community life. Like we have you get to meet Cameroonians, you get to meet Nigerians, but not as much as it's in Toronto or Montreal. It's kind of different. So I don't know if it's because a whole lot of people work out of town and just come to town because they have like 2 weeks out, 2 weeks in the oil field, and then maybe like between 3 to 5 days in town, and then they go back, just like that, or 10 days in 10 days in the oil field, 3 days in town, just like that. Maybe that's the reason, maybe because the people around there. But then there's a lot of love in this area. There's a lot of quietness, a lot of peace. People, if you want to party, if you want to enjoy yourself, you're definitely going to do that. If you want to be work, if you want to study, anything you want to do, you're free to do that. And it's so amazing because the area, the environment gives you room to do all of that for yourself. So if this is, you're planning on moving either to Edmonton from Toronto, I've given you my own view of moving from Toronto to Edmonton and the differences. If you're planning on moving from Edmonton to Toronto, this is my own view. Or if you live in Halifax, you live in Nunavut, anywhere, and you're thinking of moving, or if you're a new immigrant and planning to move to Canada and you're trying to find out about cities and stuff, I just told you about Toronto and Edmonton. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you did love the information I gave you and you love the video, or it's just my face you love, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to share with your family members and friends. And also don't forget to subscribe and turn on the post notification bell so that you get notified each time I do upload a video. Thank you very much, and do have yourself a lovely evening, a lovely day, a lovely week. Until next time.